Guys, it's Josh back with SobrietyWoD. Today we're talking about dependence and what it is, what it means, what we think of whenever we say it. And so just clarifying kind of my thoughts on it. If you've been around, you know I like to look at definitions because I think it's really important that we know. I think it's really important that we know what we're saying when we say things, or what people are saying when they say things. And the more I keep my eyes open, the more I realize that a lot of my issues had to do with me understanding things differently than somebody else. So dependence is one of those things. And so to clarify, we're using some syllogistic method, some logical reasoning skills, procedures, tools, whatever. So it's called a syllogism, and the way it works is, you've heard it before, it's a conditional statement, if A then B. And so for dependent, the little example that I was using was, if I need something in order to do something, then I'm dependent on it. If I don't need something in order to do something, then I'm not dependent on it. And so just real simply, the example I think I put in there was like, if I'm going to dig a hole, I need a shovel. The thought is that in order for me to do something, some action, some predicate, I need something to accomplish that. And so as addicts, as alcoholics, like, we're pretty familiar with that idea. I know, for me to go out socially, like, I had to have alcohol. For me to interact with the opposite sex, for me to make it through the day, for me, whatever those things were, I had to have something. And that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about dependence. I needed to do things that normal people just do, right? So we've had that feeling. But looking at our disease as a perspective disease, or a disease of perspective, somebody kind of told me that a long time ago, and it was like, it's always stuck with me. It's like, the way that I perceive things changes my reality. And so my thought with the concept of the shovel and the hole, if I'm in this dilemma where I need a shovel to dig a hole and I don't have a shovel, there's two ways that situation could be rectified. And one of them is to find a shovel, to get a shovel from somewhere. And the other one is to change my mind about needing to dig a hole. And I feel like my recovery, and a lot of people that I've talked to, was not finding a shovel because the shovel was what I was looking for all the time, as much as it was realizing that the holes that I thought needed to be dug didn't even need to be dug. The person I thought that I had to be, the job I thought I had to have, the life I thought I had to live, the belief system I thought I had to adopt. All those things were things that were keeping me in prison. It was this idea that I had to do those things. And so I had to drink to go to work at a job that I hated. Well, my realization through recovery was that I didn't have to do that job. It was this false imprisonment that I had sort of either placed on myself or allowed to be placed on me. Regardless, the answer in a lot of my situations was that hole doesn't need to be dug. And so my question for you, for your discussion, is, did you find that in your recovery? Just so we're not misunderstanding, dependence is not always bad. Like, if I do need a hole, then I do need a shovel, I'm not saying it's bad, but there are situations where we keep on looking for the tool to help us do the job, and really the job is one that doesn't need to be done, or maybe not that way. So in your recovery, did you have anything like that? Was there anything where, you were like, well, I gotta do this in order, so an example for me, in order for me to be a decent husband, like, I can't be miserable, so I gotta find something to make me feel better so I can be a decent, but it didn't work that way. It's the other way around. So that was just an experience that I had. where it was my thought of what a decent husband has to be that was imprisoning. And when I realized that my perspective was all messed up and who I was okay, then the need to dig the hole went away, if that makes sense. So you guys talk about that, and then we'll come back and talk about what that looks like in fitness, coaching, and the gym.